Hey everybody, it's Harry from Dilbertesque BBQ, the YouTube channel that teaches you how to master barbecue so you can spread barbecue love. I am doing a viewer request episode. You guys want to know among the different ways to cook brisket, is it best to wrap in Texas style butcher paper, wrap in foil, or leave it unwrapped? So in this episode, I have 3 briskets here which we're going to be cooking. I'm going to be using my Slap Your Daddy rubs. I'm going to be also trying out my new steak rub, which I'm formulating to put into a new bottle. We're going to cook 3 Angus choice briskets, 1 wrapped, 1 unwrapped, and 1 in butcher paper to see which one is the best way to cook a brisket and which one is Harry's favorite method. Season out a brisket, I'm going to use a little bit of this product here, kind of wet the brisket to create a smear. You can use mustard, Worcestershire, anything you like. I find that this wets the brisket so we can kind of get it nice and tacky to get the rub to stick. I'm not going to inject this brisket because this is not a comp episode. You've seen I have what, 45, maybe 50 brisket videos already. So if you guys are interested to see how I cook comp briskets, how I can cook a brisket in 2 hours, how I can cook a brisket in 20 hours with different kinds of trim methods, go check out my playlist in the description below. On this one, I'm going to try to keep it simple. We're going to add some of my beef rub here and use some of my steak rub here, which I've been formulating for a while. And we're going to use a combination of my beef here. Just a thin coat of beef. I'm going to put more of the steak rub because I really like my new steak rub. Hopefully I can get it into stores near you soon, not on Amazon. We're going through a label design right now with Pat, and once I get the label done, we'll try to put it in bottles, kind of send it out as you guys try it. I know a lot of you have asked me that you guys want steak rubs. So this is my Moolah, First Place USA. This has got some special ingredients including shiitake, mushroom powder, as well as some powdered Worcestershire. So my steak rub is kind of quite similar, but it's got a few additional ingredients like herbs in there. And what I like about this is that I actually reduce the amount of sugar in my steak rub, so that this is meant for more or less low and slow barbecue. It has an absolutely beautiful crust. So this one, I know that some people like to cook steaks hot, so this one has a little bit less sugar in its formulation, but both are really, really good. And I'm going to put a lot of my steak rub on it, give it a good, nice, thick coating. And we're going to really have 3 really fantastic briskets. 1 wrapped in butcher paper, 1 wrapped in foil, the other one unwrapped. We're going to cook it kind of low and slow because I like to cook briskets kind of low and slow. Probably around maybe 225, 235 or so. Let it have a nice crust. If you're wondering why these briskets look small, that's because this is just the flat. I didn't want to have to cook the whole packer because this is a test. And these are the flats that you find in Costco. So for those of you who keep asking me how do you cook a Costco flat, just tune into this episode on how I do a flat. Very similar to a packer, which is the point and the flat, or the moist and the lean. But this one has just the flat muscle. We want to put on a fairly thick coating of rub. Get it nice and salty. With a beautiful crust. And all set, we're going to throw in the pit, get some crust, and do the wrap. We're running at 250 degrees. It's been a couple of hours. The crust is slowly setting on the brisket. Looking beautiful. I have to spray some water. It's been about 6 hours later. We are running at around 250. We've been spraying it regularly with water. Let's take a look and see if we're ready for wrap. Looks absolutely gorgeous. Check the crust. Almost there. You want to do the scratch test. So what I'm doing is as I'm touching it, you can see that the rub is not falling off. There's a little bit of oil here, so that's very good. So I want to say it's ready for wrap. Spray some more water. It's ready. Let's remove it. And you can see that I have my wood trick here, which you guys have seen many times in my videos, 40 plus videos. This is to prop the meat up so that it's a dome shape, so that it drains beautifully and has an absolutely perfect, gorgeous crust. Okay. Let's go ahead and wrap the briskets, and I want to thank Brisket Goods who provided the butcher paper. So this is available on Amazon. I'm going to leave the link in my description below. So go get your butcher paper from Brisket from Amazon. I'm going to do a wrap now. I'll show you guys how we do a wrap. This length of the paper is going to be about 3.5 times the length of the brisket in this case. So I'm going to place it about here, about half in length over. Let me show you guys how it works. Fold it once over, like so. We're going to do 2 flips going that way. 1 and 2. 1, 2. Fold this over like that. And fold under. Okay, there you go. Beautiful pouch ready to go. Alright, so all 3 look pretty good, and appearance wise, I want to say, I don't know, looks like a Thai. I think that all look absolutely gorgeous. So this was the one that was cooked naked brisket, butcher paper brisket, and foil brisket. I think all look absolutely fantastic. Let's cut it into them and see what happens. Alright, I'm going to use my Masamoto KS. So for those of you who are knife aficionados, you guys know that this is one of probably the most sought after knives in the world. Alright, let's take a cut through this one here. This is the unwrapped one. Feels pretty good. Judging from the sliced appearance, the first one is the unwrapped butcher paper and foil. I don't know. I think it's tough to make the call. I think they all look pretty good appearance wise, and the smoke looks pretty good, bark looks pretty good, and I honestly, unless you can tell me in the comments below, this one is the foil, this one is the butcher paper, this is the naked brisket, they all look alike. So I don't know, I think it's a Thai. The Thai on the appearance on the outside and a Thai after slice. So I could be wrong, but let's give it a shot and see. All right, now's the hard part. Somebody's got to do the dirty work here, and let me eat my way through all the briskets here. So here's the one on the unwrapped. Beautiful slice here. All right, you see that? Let me pull and see. Okay, just a tad under. I would say probably not 45 minutes, but no biggie. It's meant to kind of compare the result here. So this is one. Let's do a second one. This was on the butcher paper wrap, and similarly looks very good. You can see the look here. Okay, here we go. Like both sides. Nice drape. Nice drape. Pull. Okay, much better. This is about right. I kind of cooked them all about, I want to say, it was 4 a.m. in the morning. So let me think for a second what happened here. I reckon about 8.5 hours each. So I wrapped it all about the same time. At least these two. This is unwrapped. Probably about the 6.5, 7 hour mark. And I ran it for maybe a couple more hours. So it's still a fog because I was up all night. But I reckon about maybe 8.5 hours on the average. This one could have gone a little bit longer, but I ended up pulling all 3, but that's okay. You guys can see the result. So pretty tender. Tenderness is good. Set this aside. Let's do tenderness for the one for the foil. Also looks very good, like so. And let's do the drape. Drape is pretty good. Let's do a pull test here. Okay, so this one is just a tad under. I want to say maybe another maybe 20 minutes. It will be absolutely the right tenderness. Now, of course, this is not a tenderness test nor a episode on how to teach you how to cook brisket. I already have 45, 50 episodes on how to cook brisket, so you know, you guys can go watch those. But this is purely a test to see which wrap works best. So that's the purpose of this test. So don't worry too much about what I just said about the tenderness. All right, let's talk about the taste here. Need the one that is wrapped in foil first. Good amount of beefiness, good amount of smoke. This is the one from the butcher paper. Overall, very good. Let's try the one that's unwrapped. I ate the first pass. I'm gonna go back and eat the second pass. Need some of the point muscle here. It's on the edge here. All right, eating the unwrapped. Some good brisket, man. I'm gonna eat the second round with a little bit of point muscle, and then the flat. Very decent, very decent. And back to the one for foil. So a little bit of a point, a little bit of a flat. Overall, comment in case you don't want to listen to what I have to say. You just want to get the conclusion. All three, fantastic brisket. Just good technique, good smoke, good rub. Well cooked. Tenderness is a little bit uneven, but that's okay. So just ignore all my comments on tenderness. In terms of flavor, all spot on. Now let's talk about the nuances of the foil, butcher paper, no wrap, and I'll kind of talk you through some of my impressions. The differences are subtle, and this is not going to be a conclusive result for you because remember I cooked 3 brisket flats, so whoopie-doo. That's not enough of a statistical sample to draw any major conclusions. So everything I'm going to say from this point onwards is going to be more or less anecdotal. So it represents just a very limited cook with 3 briskets with 3 different methods. And I will tell you, you cannot extrapolate this to the entire population because there's just too many factors involved, including the variability of the animal, the pitmaster, the local conditions, the pit, and so on. But I cooked 3 of them in the same pit, which was the GMG, Jimboey. So I have at least one variable that I eliminated. I cannot eliminate the variable that is 3 different cows, so every cow is going to be different. So you're going to have variability in the meat itself. But overall, I'll give you kind of like what my take on it is. This one, in my opinion, if I had to just give you a ranking, the best so far today, based on this very limited 3 brisket sample, is going to be, I like the foil one the best. Second, the butcher paper. Third, the naked brisket. And I'll tell you why. For some reason, today's sample, again, today's sample only, the brisket was actually a little bit more moist on the one that wrapped in foil. And this was also very good, but it seemed like this one had a little bit more moisture than the one from the butcher paper, and then this one was the least moisture. Now, all 3 are really good eating briskets, so you could, serve any of these 3 different styles of wrap to your friends and family. It will be a huge hit as it is. But I'm just now comparing side by side. So in today's test, I like the foil best, second butcher paper, and third is the unwrap. Now you're gonna ask me next question, by what degree do you like them? So let me put some numbers to give you what I feel today. Now these are not competition briskets, so I'm not going to judge it on competition scale. I'm just going to judge it what I call on a backyard scale, on a restaurant scale, on a catering scale, because we didn't do a lot of those funky things I do when I do a competition brisket, as you've seen in my previous videos. If I had to score this the best today, and this is a very limited 3 brisket sample as the best, and I give it a 10. This one is just a hair behind, so I would give this basically a 9. And I would give this a 7.5. So this is kind of where you can tell from my independent judging based on a very limited sample that if this was the best today, which turned out to be the foil, this one was also good, but it lacked kind of like the little kind of moisture and tenderness and wetness of this foil brisket. Bark, I would say, is the same. The bark all stuck. So the bark is really not anything more than good technique. Once you establish the Maillard reaction, which is the non-enzymatic pyrolysis of amino acid, the bark will stick on. So you're going to get basically thousands of new flavor compounds. So you're going to get that whether you cook it naked, you cook it butcher, or you cook it foil. It's going to be the same. So that's just good technique from the pitmaster. This one here has good bark. However, it's just a tad dry. That's all I can say. I don't know if it is a variability of the meat itself, but it just feels a little dry, even though I did not overcook. In fact, I kind of undercooked it. So it's just a tad dry. So 7.5, 9, and 10. That's my final answer. Your result will vary when you cook this at home. It gives you hope that at the end of the day, it's really not so much about the way you wrap your brisket. It's much more important to have good technique and good pit processes, fire management, wood management, learning how to trim the brisket, learning how to look at the signs of the key phases in the brisket. I told you guys like many times in all my videos, so just recap. Number one, you gotta cook until the crust sets. You saw how diligent I was doing my little test called the scratch test. We wrapped it in foil, butcher paper, and no wrap. That apparently doesn't make a huge difference, except if you do the butcher paper and the foil. I would say, you know, on a given day, it's kind of a tie. The unwrap is less desirable because the long cooking period, about 9 hours, eventually will dry up the brisket, no matter how good you are. I ran it at a couple of different hybrid temperatures, so I should kind of mention that so that you don't get misled. I started it at kind of around 225. Over the course of the cook, I decided it wasn't crusting fast enough. I kind of bumped it to 250. Once I reached the foil phase, I looked at the brisket and I kind of felt it was a little bit too hot. So I kind of dropped the temperature down to 235 because I didn't want this puppy to dry out. And then eventually towards the end, as I was probing it for tenderness, I was worried that this unwrap would become dry. So I did drop it down to around 220. So I started at 225, I went to 250, I went to 235, I went to 220. Now, for those of you at home, these are advanced techniques. It's called a multi-stage cook. A lot of you probably would not have sufficient experience to do a multi-stage cook in your pit. And besides, if you don't use like a pellet cooker, it is really difficult to do a multi-stage cook. So you get the bonus of this episode that I use the pellet cooker to show you how to do a multi-stage cook, which is an advanced technique. Now, if you guys like to see more multi-stage cooks, which are used on pellet cookers, primarily to get the maximum potential of a pellet cooker, you really have to be quite skilled at multi-stage cooks versus kind of cooking at a constant temperature on your pit, right? But that's probably a subject for another video. If you want me to do that kind of video, let me know. I don't think many people will care because everybody just want to cook brisket, be done with it and eat it. They're not worried about all these arcane, techno-weenie differences in the cooking method. But you know, you guys come to my channel because you guys know we're all hardcore pitmasters. If you watch my channel, you lasted this long in this long video, you are here because you want to learn all of the black belt tips and tricks associated with cooking brisket. So that's my conclusion. 10, 9, 7.5 at the end of the day on a limited sample with just 3 briskets. So enough of me talking too much now. Mr. Beans has been jumping on me. Time to feed Mr. Beans and get his opinion on which brisket reigns supreme. Here's Mr. Bean's plate, and from my left to right is gonna be the foil, butcher paper, and then a naked brisket. Foil, butcher paper, and naked brisket. Let's go and see what Mr. Beans likes. Mr. Beans, we have brisket again today, and you're gonna help me do a taste test. This is the one that is foil. This is the one that's butcher paper, and this is the unwrapped. Go ahead, go. Oh, he went through the foil one. Dang it. He has a sixth sense, right? He followed just like me. Oh, no, he tasted the foil. Now he's tasting the butcher paper. He dropped the foil. And would you believe it? He tasted the foil and he went for the butcher paper. And now he's going back to taste the foil. Now he's going to taste the naked brisket. And he's eating the naked brisket. And does he like it? All right, so I assume that he's chosen the naked brisket second. He's put the foil in third place. So I had the foil in first place, butcher paper second place, and the naked in third place. Beans picked the butcher paper, followed by the naked brisket, followed by the foil brisket. So his score is different. So your mileage will vary for those of you watching my video at home. So Beans had his preference, I have my preference. Right, Beans? You like it? Good brisket, right? Thanks for stopping by and supporting my channel, especially my Patreons who are helping keep the lights on my channel. Until the next video, please like, subscribe, and share. Leave me comments and questions if you like. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Be safe and be healthy.